All right, all right. Okay, I think that is good to go. Let's see. Okay, I think that's good. All right. Wait for some people to come in the room. If we even get any people on this broadcast, good evening. Good evening. Yours truly, Rob Diaz. If you guys can hear me clearly, you can put something in the chat. You can throw in your state or city. Just want to see how we got the quality going on, audio, technical kinks worked out. I think we're good. Okay, cool. All right. Sound check is good. Yeah. I can move this to basically work how I want. Okay, cool. All right. Let's set this on. Okay. So I have a couple studies. Let me see what I can pull up here. This is a really good one. We go to PubMed. Let's see what we get. PubMed. Okay. All right, so I have. Different. Okay, cool. Cool. This is a good one. Let me mark that. I'm just marking up some documents for reference. Good evening. See how that works. So I'm going to set up a poll, and everyone who comes in can actually drop a yes or a no to the question that I'm putting in the poll. So thank you for those who are showing up. And like I said, we'll give it time because this is like the first time streaming on this channel. There's not that many content following going on, so it's going to be a little slow. But we're gonna do really fun things here and make it really worth the time and the resource value. All right, so I have a question for the community, and you guys can put in a yes or no to the question that I have in the chat. And it's a poll, and I want to see just to have a nice little interaction this evening. So this will be really nice. I appreciate it always, Sagittarius. Thank you. And if you haven't already, you can share with your friends and family. This will be recorded probably, depending upon how the content comes out. But I'm going to set up time in this platform on my website and in other third-party platforms to have more interactive sharing activities of such and so on. So hopefully that helps you. And then, of course, there's always direct services if you need it, when needed, if needed. All right. So my goal, let's see what we have going on. That's weird. It says 3. Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna give it a little time. But my goal is to share the facts, right? Based on the evidence, based on the science. And for those who are not familiar, they'll understand that and they'll be able to make a decision to see what's truly important about how they map out, how they plan out the things they do to benefit their health, right? So it's not a um, diagnostic model, but more of an awareness, evaluating, and decision. But then comes a secondary period of evaluation when you've done the work to see what the outcome is. Right, so we have like our objective findings, which are very important to evaluate. Okay, so for those who may be coming into the chat, definitely go ahead and check out that poll I have going on, because this is something that's really interesting. And I don't want to just talk about mushrooms, but there is some there is some evidence about how we prepare food, right? And when we think about real foods, when we think about what we call produce or living food or plants, right? Uh, these things have quite a bit of beneficial compounds and very protective compounds for us as humans. But when we alter the preparation method, some of those compounds, like the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, may be rendered useless. The, the frying is one of those techniques that we use to prepare food by removing water. Removing water. That's what frying does, and I'll elaborate more on that maybe in this live later or at another time. But that's important to understand what frying is first. What is oil? What is fat? Right? And these are just some of the things I want to share. I don't want to go too deep because I understand people all have different levels of understanding with the food science, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone or put them in a situation that makes them feel guilty, but really to, like I said, evaluate what matters most, what you can use um, to determine how you're going to move forward with making more conscious decisions about your self wellness. So hopefully that makes some type of sense. And there is a guide here for protection online. There's so much stuff going on in this, and I'm new to this, and I'm already getting hit with notifications about protecting my security on this channel. So that's just a big indicator that there's um, some things, some things that are going on. But at any rate, we'll see, like I said, how the feed does. And really, it's going to take some time to adjust and getting used to the time, the algorithm here in YouTube Studio. But the good thing is, like I said, I will make an attempt to share. I will make an attempt to make this available outside of the live platform. Hopefully, this camera quality is good. Hopefully, the audio quality is good. That's really what I want to be able to make sure it's good with this, because with the live, you can have really good content, right? You can have people putting some really good content out there, but sometimes the stream is not good because of the bandwidth, right? Or the microphone quality is not as good as it should be because of the environment in which the people are recording in has a lot of ambient noises. So, like I said, I want to make sure all of those kinks are worked out. Okay. Okay, cool. So what I will do, that's interesting. I'm using, mm, I don't think it's gonna let me do it. I'll probably have to use my big boy voice, but I don't see any audio controls here. I probably will have to have set this before I started broadcasting. But thank you for the heads up. I'll make sure I try to speak loud and clear, and my microphone here is not obstructed. Mm, these preferences. Okay. All right. So hopefully that sounds a little better there. Hopefully that's not too loud. I went ahead and adjusted the microphone input. So I'm getting some feedback, good feedback, but hopefully that's a good level. Okay. So I think that really took it up now. I got my levels boosted up. Hopefully I don't clip, but hopefully it's nice, loud, and clear. And that's what matters most. Is you need to be able to hear the content. So there is one thing I need to do. There's a book in my other on my other desk. I would like to go grab, and since there's not too many people here, I'll do that now. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. My apologies. My apologies. My apologies. So I had another reference here. I was looking at it on my phone, and this reference talks about the effect when we use different cooking methods. So there's different effects, right, of antioxidant activity. And that's just basically the oxidizing of the tissues and the cells and those components, those those essential minerals and vitamins which our body would utilize being rendered useless through the method of preparation. When it comes to frying, again, like I said, there's an exchange of hydrogen through the water. So the hydrogen molecule is exchanged for a carbon molecule in the fat, which is the oil. And that's where the saturation comes in, but it's done at a very, very high or volatile rate, which can affect our dietary intake, and that's where I'm really trying to hit home. So just as a reminder, for those who don't know, and I have to say this, and the ones who do know, I'm not a medical doctor, and I don't provide any licensed medical advice. I do have consulting services. I do have experience. I do have certifications and qualifications by the Guild of Registered Herbalists, and also by the National Association of Nutritional Professionals. I'm currently studying alternative medicine as a student in my senior studies, my bachelor's studies of alternative medicine. So having this experience and ability to have resources utilized in a reference environment and a clinical environment is what enables me to share the information, and also through the business work that I do with the consulting service and working with other individuals in the holistic healthcare community. So, no medical advice. However, I am sharing resourceful information because the information I share is going to be information that can be backed, right? It's evidence based. It's something that you're going to look at and realize that you can go do more than a Google search on. And this is really, I'm trying to get my lighting right. This is really what separates how I do business from other businesses, because a lot of people use some standard, and their standard for me is it's just not good enough. If that standard is a Google search, if that standard is a um, copy and paste, document that we can't really go back and uh, do some type of evaluation, like what we call a peer evaluation. So someone else who does the same work as me, another doctor who does another work type of another doctor, be able to be in a state where they can actually get some type of review and say, yeah, we concur with the information or we don't concur. And that's really what you want to have. You want to have that backing behind a lot of the information that's shared from people who are in a position to do therapy or practice work or any kind of alternative resources when working with people. All right, so if you're coming in the room, I see people coming in and out. Please, definitely, if you like it, drop a like. If you want to subscribe, that's completely up to you. But this platform will be a alternative wellness platform where I share resourceful information for people who are looking to learn the facts and evidence behind the wellness community, behind everything we talk about with how we eat to live. Me being an herbalist and also utilizing herbal medicines, right, in a clinical setting to evaluate the effectiveness in being a complement or an alternative treatment to some of the modern medicines, right? So a lot of people are looking for alternatives. A lot of people want to do better, but some people just don't know or they don't have the resources. And I'm here to provide that information. There's so many resources. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the demand for alternative medicine, or we call CAM, which is complementary and alternative medicine, this is in great demand, and I think like in the next decade, it's set to increase by 40% in demand compared to traditional conventional medicine, which is like going to the doctor and getting a prescription. Of course, the generations, right? They play a big role in that. So again, I have a poll, okay, in the chat for those of you who are here, and you can drop a yes or a no to the question in the poll. But I just like to know because the title I put for here, not frying the mushrooms and having the fried foods is really something I want to focus on, but just bigger, right? A little bit bigger than mushrooms, more so in the speak of what we understand as food and how it can be altered. And this is talking about real food. So I'm not talking about processed foods like potato chips, something that's already been altered or boxed or prepackaged. I'm talking about things that we would get raw from even animals, but mostly plants and produce and so on, and putting it into a state that is converted for us to consume for the purpose of taste, not necessarily nutrition or value. Okay, so the whole fry thing is one concern. Like I said, how we prepare our foods. Frying food is something that we really have to understand it. That you can, and I don't fry, but you can. And there's different methods. There's different processes, but most people in the conventional home kitchen setting don't know. You can prepare your foods fried properly, but this is something you have to know how to do. Additionally, we want to understand if we are utilizing frying as a mechanism, as a technique, okay, we are doing it with the right foods. Some foods, when you fry it, it actually becomes very unhealthy. And this is a point I'm trying to bring awareness to, especially in some of the more health conscious individuals, right? So if anyone has any questions, I do have the chat box open up. But again, it's important to understand the steps, like I said. It's important to understand your basics, your fundamentals. Before you say, I'm going to do something because of a way you think, know the basics, know what is realistic, know what is the reality. And that may require you doing something you never did before, right? But know, again, the different techniques. And this comes down to chemistry and science. So when we talk about how we prepare our foods, there is a science to food preparation. Food scientists, people who get to do this type of work, are the ones who make these determinations. For, like, example, when you're preparing a microwave TV dinner, at what temperature should it be cooked and for how long, right? So there's a science behind that, believe it or not. But that same science is applicable to how we prepare foods to render them nutritious or prevent loss of their nutritive value. So you cannot have the mindset that, hey, when I'm eating this food, I'm getting 50 grams of protein, I'm getting 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, because if these things are not prepared properly or unprepared, guess what? You're not getting that. And a lot of times, when we go further back and we look at the human body, right? We look at our structure of digestion. There's a couple things that have to happen. Digestion is not just digestion. Digestion is absorption, metabolism, assimilation. So just imagine getting a percentage of the original nutrients you consume and not being able to digest, not being able to assimilate, right? Not being able to transport, and the body utilize these mechanisms of the nutritive value. So that's important to understand, and it's a multi-step approach. But these are some of the things that I discuss with my clients or the people who I work with in group sessions when we're doing specific health concerns related to general wellness, and what I'm able to share and practice through the resources that I have. Additionally, I also share that in the private setting when I'm doing work consulting for clients. But it is important to know what you're dealing with at the base. Okay, what is it? Am I dealing with a protein? Am I dealing with a carbohydrate and a fat? And what happens when I alter that? Are there any nutrients? Okay. Are there any kind of uh, additional phytochemicals, as we like to say in the scientific community, that allow us to have some beneficial value? And if there are, how do we preserve that? How do we maintain that? Okay, JR, thank you. I appreciate it. Cool, cool. Definitely appreciate the support. Drop a like if you want, and subscribe to the channel. You'll probably see a lot more here of my content in Nature Roots, and of course on my website with other third parties. So it's really, really just another channel we're using, another resource. But again, the foundation for understanding your food types, okay, they go into categories. We call those our macronutrients, and then the micronutrients, which may be in the macro. So a carbohydrate, right, like whole grain rice. And then are there any micronutrients like B vitamins? Are there any minerals in there like zinc? And then if I boil it, if I pan fry it, if I wok fry it, these different preparation methods, what am I going to have available? And I'm getting into the nitty gritty with this concerning subject, because this is really, like I said, getting down to the food science. Different oils really come down to two categories, and it comes down to what we call vegetable oils and non-vegetable oils. The problem is vegetable oils are what we call unstable, right? And it's not a bad thing, but oil is a fat. That's the first thing we have to understand. I have one of my nutrition reference books here, so just so you know, I'm not free balling it, and I do have a lot of stuff upstairs in the Greyhound group. But if we go over here and we talk about fat, like if I go into the fat section of this book, you'll see it'll talk about different type of oils. And what you have to understand with oils is, like I said, they have different tolerances for how they behave in this environment based on heat, based on temperature. So this is a law of physics, believe it or not. But when we change the structure of the environment with some type of heat and oils, then they can misbehave. And when I mean misbehave, I mean they can change their structure, which can affect their um, health. It can affect our health. It can affect their function in the human body. And forgive me for playing with this silly lighting equipment. But there's so many things online and social media say, hey, use this oil. Um, but it's not talking about really how you use the oil. They're just saying, well, instead of using your old-fashioned vegetable oils, and when I say vegetable oils, I'm talking about things like corn oil, vegetable oil. Old school, we hear that term, we see it. What is that? Well, this was basically rapeseed or canola seeds, which have been pressed and what we call hydrogenated. Okay, it's a process of basically disturbing the oil with friction and shaking motion to preserve it. Okay, because once you take the essences of a oil from a plant, okay, so we're talking about plant oils. These are fatty acids. Once you extract that, it begins to oxidize, and this is O2, right? So O2 um, going through the membrane of the lipid of the fat, and when it does that, it becomes rancid. So if you ever smell like old cooking oil, you have that rancidity. That's oil that's been oxidized, and that is very bad inside of our body. And I'm not going to get into why and what happens when it's in there, but it's very detrimental to our cardiovascular system. So when people are really trying to improve their health, they're like, well, I went from vegetable oil to, let's just say, olive oil, or I went from corn oil to hemp seed oil. They're still utilizing the oil in the same mythology as they were with the older type oils. And the thing that has to be understood is the mythology of cooking, something called smoke points, because in food science, we can take these fats and these oils and we heat them up until they create a carbon neutral. So that's basically changing the chemical structure for those who are the chemistry gurus out there to have no anions. And that's basically rendering those hydrogen molecules destroyed. There's some oxygen chains, and then you're just left with a carbon backbone. In the body, in this structure, okay, I'm giving you the science, but that structure in the body is what clogs arteries. That's what causes plaquing of the arteries. That's what can contribute to arterial atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. And I think you get the picture. So it's important to understand that these oils are very, very sensitive. Okay, so we say volatile, not stable, very sensitive. Even how you store the oil. There's a reason that good quality vegetable oil, and think about what I'm about to say, think about this. There's a reason that good quality vegetable oil comes in colored glass, i.e., here in the United States, imported olive oil. High quality, single origin, clean, some certifying body is going to bring it to you in glass. It's very important to understand that because they're trying to preserve, right? They're trying to preserve the essence of the oil, and that's those essential fatty acids, which are very important for a lot of tissues and cells in the body. Even when we talk about, and I'm not going to get into this, but even when we talk about reproductive health, cholesterol management, okay, very important. Now, butter is a animal animal source of oil, if you want to say, or animal fat. So the properties are a little different. And I would need to use some visual representation to show you, which I could, but I'm not. So mostly what I'm focusing on is vegetable oils. Let's talk. Let's name some of the vegetable oils. And if you guys are here and listening, drop some of the vegetable oils that you use in the chat. So things like, again, like I said, corn oil, canola oil, rape seed, which is not the same as grape seed, but rape seed, which is it's from the Brassica family, believe it or not. But they hybridize the seed to grow, so it produces a lot more seed rather than, okay, we got avocado oil, more seed production for oil production rather than leaf material. Um, Grape seed, avocado, hemp seed, right? What else is there? Walnut. There's a lot of options in the market now. Okay. Now butter, we have to look at its smoke point, and it's up there. We have to understand its melting point. We have to understand its heat point. The same applies to the plant oils. Okay. And that's important because when that oil begins to smoke, that's when it's beginning to become rendered useless. That's when the oil is beginning to become what we call oxidized, right? And this process on certain foods, for example, potatoes, becomes a carcinogen. So how do you understand the here's something I have when we talk about the butter. How do you understand its smoke points? Well, the rule of thumb is what form of the oil is it in at room temperature? What form is the oil? Is the fat at room temperature? Is it a solid or is it a liquid? Coconut oil, coconut oil will change quickly below room temperature to a solid. And at room temperature and above, it's a liquid. So, for example, here in South Florida, coconut oil is a liquid. But up north, in a lot of the northern areas, it's most of the time of the year in the pantry, it's a solid. Okay? This helps us understand what we consider something to be saturated, less saturated, or unsaturated. Your unsaturated would be liquids at room temperature. Okay? Margarine, and that's bad stuff. Less saturated, very soft at room temperature, and then your question, the highly saturated fat at room temperature solid. So that's butter. Okay. Another one, tallow or beef fat, but you don't see that much anymore. And of course, lard. So lard, sits on the shelf at room temperature solid. For those of you who didn't know, those are not what I just talked about, the lard and the butter and the tallow. Those are not vegetable oils. They're more stable. However, they're highly saturated. Okay. And understanding the saturation, whether it's a poly, a mono, or just unsaturated, helps us determine how it affects the saturation of our LDL and HDL, aka our cholesterols in our body. Again, big importance there. We have widespread oil types again to pick from, but again, we need to understand your smoke points. There's charts you can actually get online. I have some that I share with my clients when they're working with me, and it basically tells you the oil types and at what temperature. But here's the other big thing too: how many people are aware of the temperature? How many people are aware of the temperature at which they're cooking in? So you understand the canola is isolated from the rapeseed. That's what I was talking about earlier. But temperature, okay, how many people are aware of the temperature of the oil in which they're cooking in? Because that is the number one determining factor on how you can use that oil for cooking. For those of you just coming in, please, if you don't mind, You can drop a like if you like what you hear. If you feel like you want to subscribe, I'm going to be here sharing quite a bit of content. Going to be some lives going on. New to the channel, okay, new information, but quite a bit in my archive I will be uploading. But again, think about this as I was saying earlier when we talked about the oils, lipids, fats, and how they interact with our food and how we prepare it. Okay, what temperature? Because I told you earlier, I said there's something called a smoke point, and the smoke point is going to determine that chemical reaction I told you about. This is how we determine calorie load for food. So you determine how much energy you get per gram from any food. We do a heat test, and basically you burn it to see how long it takes, and then there's a formula to calculate how many grams of energy per joule or how many joules per gram of energy, which is a calculation to say how much energy your body can get from whatever it's consuming. The same methodology we use when we fry foods is the same process happening. We're taking this hydrogen long chain, these saturated fatty acids and carbons, and we're breaking them down to what we call a carbon backbone. And this carbon backbone is a precursor for carcinogen, right? The potato is a really big one. Air fryers are a great investment in the kitchen, I believe. However, there are some downsides to using air fryers if we don't understand proper temperature setting and adjustment, and also if we're using oil in those things. If there's anyone in the room that has any questions on what I'm talking about, feel free to drop it in the chat. I also have a live poll right now. I would like for everyone who's here that hasn't already answered to just drop a yes or a no. It's discreet. I'm not going to know who answered what. I'm not here to judge, but I would like to collect data. So it's just basically asking. Now, I'm pretty sure the answer, for most is going to be yes, even for me at one point. Now, currently, I don't consume fried food. The only way I think that happens is like once a year or maybe twice a year. If I'm somewhere on vacation or I'm at the market, the fair with my children and have a piece of funnel cake, right? That's fried dough. Or my mother-in-law, cooks this pastry she makes once a year when I visit. But I don't personally prepare fried foods in my house, and I have a wide variety of oils for cooking. But when I say cooking, I don't necessarily mean by adding these things to a pan and heating them up. We have to understand things like salad oils are the same oils that we're frying, but combined with other compounds and vinegars and herbs and spices that are just as effective. Knowing how to apply the oil, right, is most important. And these are the type of things that I share with my clients because they're like, well, Rob, I can't use the oil anymore. And I'm like, of course you can. You have to know how to utilize the oil. The proper mythology is what matters most. So, has anyone ever noticed, and my camera is not the camera here on this screen, I have a different camera set up this way. So if you guys are wondering why I have this offset vision, that's why. But hopefully it works. At any rate, did you ever notice, has anyone ever noticed that when you have things that are fried, they're all the same color? Now, if you take off that coating and that breading underneath and you originally go back to what you said, I'm pretty sure it was some color there. Most likely animal protein, bright red, okay? But if it was produce we were frying, like broccoli or mushrooms, you had different pigments, you had different carotenoids and colors that have nutritional value. Believe it or not, those colors hold many, many benefits to the plant, and we cover that up, and everything becomes the same color. So just think about it for a moment. Look at what happens when we fry food. We have just one spectrum of color, which is brown, golden brown. Okay, golden brown crisp, right? I'm frying food, and we get this wonderful crisp and crunch, which I understand as a health coach and nutritionist what that is psychologically, where that comes from. But you don't have any nutrients there that you were supposed to begin with, and a lot of it's been rendered gone and useless. A lot of the nutritive value has been reduced by like less than 50%, and it tastes the same. That's true, right? So think about it. If you don't add any kind of herb, spice, seasoning, mineral salts, what does it taste like? It probably has a very filling taste. It probably has a very comforting taste, depending upon what your likes and dislikes are. But remember, when we talk about like the nitty gritty of calories, when you look at protein and a carb, and then when you look at fat, and oil falls in the fat category, it's got twice as much of grams of calories than a carb or a protein. So, a protein, one 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 protein gram is four calories. 4 calories in 1 gram of protein. 4 calories in 1 gram of carbohydrates. 1 gram of fat. Anybody want to take a guess? How many calories is in 1 gram of fat? I know this is like math questions, and it's probably like, oh, I didn't come here for this, but this will blow your mind what I'm going to share with you. Carbohydrate, 4 grams, or excuse me, 4 calories. Protein, 4 calories. You got one number there that's wrong, and the other number is right. Fat, 1 gram of fat, or excuse me, yeah, 1 gram of fat, how many calories? Yeah, it's like 8.5, which is double a carb and a protein. So if you took 1 gram carb, 1 gram protein, put them together, that would equal 1 gram of fat as far as the caloric value. And the calorie is the load of energy your body's going to utilize. So that's why we go for it, because it's filling. Fat is filling, fat is comforting. Very good chef and food scientists who prepare food for whatever purposes, whether it's corporation food testing, or for like high 5 star, like a 3 point restaurant, they put butter on everything. They cook everything in some type of oil or butter, because that's what makes you go right. So hopefully that makes some type of sense. But your body would be able to sustain. Okay, and this is like a little nutrition hack secret, but your body's able to sustain longer off of 1 gram of fat versus the protein and the carb, and that's because it has more calories per gram. Hopefully that makes sense. For those of you who drop on by, if you like what you hear and see, please throw a like up there, and if you want to subscribe, feel free to subscribe. Again, this is a early intervention platform where I'm testing out the resources available, but this platform works. I'll be here to share fact-based information. For those who don't know me, my name is Rob Diaz. I am the owner of a holistic consulting service and fine herbal botanicals that I customize myself as an herbalist with over 15 years experience in alternative medicine. Also a student studying Bachelor of Science in Alternative Medicine, being able to connect in a clinical setting, working with people in the local community, and providing resources through an online platform. That's basically what I'm here to share and bring. And through that research, I'm able to help you guys understand, utilizing the references, all the studies I've done in the last few years, but over the course of time, with family, friends, and now clients, being able to bring it all together to help people determine how they can make a decision, or at least evaluate something that they might be contemplating doing to improve their health. And everybody is uniquely different. We have to understand in an alternative modality, everyone has different genetic input. Okay, we have a different blueprint, which is something we get from our parents at the time of conception. And our goal from the alternative perspective is to maintain, is to prevent, is to optimize. We are not reactive. We're not sitting back and waiting for things to happen with suppression of pharmaceutical drugs or high level interventions. However, there may be some cases where that may be necessary, depending upon the severity of each individual case. As I said before, I am not a medical doctor. I'm not here to share any licensed advice. However, I do have certifications under the guild and qualifications and experience and practice that enable me to share the resources and information that allow people to make educated decisions about self-wellness. So I'm going to be wrapping up here on this live. I'm really, 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 really happy that we have some people who've come out, some of my followers, some of you who know me, some of you who don't know me. But also, I really want to take a moment to just kind of, if there's any questions, anything anybody has they'd like to share, anything comment wise. Like I said, this is the first live stream on YouTube, and I'm not new. I've been in the YouTube platform for a while. I've got people who've got me in their YouTube videos and all kind of platforms, but I do have quite a bit of content here that is hidden, that's not public. And some of that information will be shared here in this channel. Some of it will be made available on other platforms. But I hope everyone can utilize what's beneficial to them. And again, if you don't find any use, please share with somebody who you think may be able to utilize. When I say share, one thing I want to say, a lot of times people may have worked with me or had great experiences, and they're thrilled because of the quality of service and the outcome through the methodology and the resource that's been applied. And they go to a significant other, a friend, a loved one, and they say, hey, you gotta go talk to Rob. You gotta check out his company. You gotta go sign up for one of his services. And you push and you push. It's not good to push people to do things. I appreciate the word of mouth sharing, but ideally, what you can do is let the person know and allow them to make a decision. And this is very important to understand when it comes to utilizing a healing approach or an alternative approach to dealing with certain cases of illness, syndromes, acute and chronic diseases. We cannot push people to do things they don't want to, because first the spirit has to be willing to heal before the physical body. However, I'm very, 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 very thankful for those who take that time to share and give that bit of word to those who may need it, because that is very valuable, very meaningful as well. Again, it is my pleasure coming here this evening. I'm probably going to set up a schedule in the evenings for live, maybe even during the daytime, depending upon what my schedule looks like day of the week. But what I'm going to do is create some type of poll here on my YouTube channel. And for those of you who aren't subscribed, please subscribe so that way you know when I'm going live. That way you know when I'm going to put out like a poll, or I'm going to reference something. And yeah, I'm getting ready to wrap up, but it'll be available. I'm going to make this video available after I'm done live. So really be in a state to see when is the best time, right? When is the best time for people? I know it's summertime. Prime time doesn't really matter. However, there are analytics that play a role in that, and I want to be able to utilize it to my advantage so we can get people here all at the same time, which is a good time. So it's not, oh, I just missed it. But truly, that's what I'm going to try to do in the next week. So by this time next week, you guys know, the ones that are here and the people that are starting to come in understand this is when I can find Congo live and possibly interact with him in a Q&A. Again, it's been my pleasure. Truly, I appreciate those of you who took some time to come on over and listen to some information I have to share. I have quite a bit of references and resources if you'd like to know more. Again, you can go to my website, natureroots.com. Check it out if you've never been there before. On my social media channels, there's links there. There should be a website link in the description of this live, which is basically has natureroots.com, my website. Check it out if you want to know more, if you want to get in contact with me, if you want to set something up. It's not going to cost you anything to get me on the phone to discuss what your concerns or what your options may be for working with me. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Wednesday night. And again, thank you. Peace. Good evening.